Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Team Behind the Shirt with Funding Circle. I'm David Flatman, and this time around we are joined by one of the busier men in English rugby, former Leicester Tigers captain who led them to Gallagher Premiership victory, now a senior player, a very important player at Bristol Bears, 71 England caps, just had his third baby and about 73 businesses by the sounds of things, but a busy man, Ellis Genge. How you doing, Genji?
All good, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hey, firstly, fatherhood again, third time. How long are you in now? 2 or 3 days?
4 days, I think, yeah. What day are we on today? Tuesday. Saturday we had so Saturday.
It's getting easy now.
Yeah. We're losing count.
So what, you got 1 boy and 2 girls?
1 boy, 2 girls, yeah. Boy's 4.5. My second is 2.5, and then the other one's 3.5 days.
So, do you like being a dad?
Yeah, I do. And like, I'm not going to jump for joy about it because some bits are really hard, and especially when you're trying to balance a career and business and all that sort of stuff as well. You've got to make sacrifices. So I don't actually feel I get the chance to be I don't know what you call it, a proper dad, I guess, if I'm speaking openly. But Mrs. is like quite on board with that. She knows the crack. She doesn't work, looks after the kids full time. So I understand my role at the moment, and she understands hers. So it's a good working relationship. I get to do some cool bits with rugby and that, and at the same time she gets to make some great memories with the kids, so they're well looked after.
Take you back to your childhood, Ellis, your journey to, don't blush when I say the top of elite sport, but your journey to the top of elite sport, professional sport, it's not unique, but it's unusual. It's less common than the practice journey that kids that get there, kids who are provided, afforded, and were lucky enough to be afforded facilities and opportunity and all that sort of stuff. You had some, but you had less of a lot of those things than other kids, yet you've got all the way there. So in a sense, do you feel like perhaps you appreciate it more, maybe?
Yeah and no. I think sometimes I'd say it's easier for me to lose sight of why I'm involved in the sport to the level I am, and what got me to the echelons that I've hit, and what makes me who I am. Because obviously, if I were to still be in the circles that I was in and doing what I was doing, then I probably wouldn't have made it here. Ironically, if you know what I mean. So, my biggest strength was my biggest weakness in the same breath. So yeah, it's brilliant to look back and reflect on, and in the same sense, I've got to keep myself as far away from it as possible, because otherwise it's a bit of a downward spiral. But yeah, it was definitely a blessing in disguise.
Maybe it was how you grew up, where you grew up, all that sort of stuff. What there is about you is there's a bite about you, right? And there are certain sports people you watch play, and now and again you think that's close to crossing the line, but you don't want to remove that fight from people. And actually, it's a key part of your success is that aggression level. But actually, in business, while you have to, of course, tone it down physically, have you found that having that sort of inner drive that is clearly there, have you found that's helped you?
Yes. To be honest, I'm obviously never on the ground in the businesses that I own, and every business that I've got, I'm a half 50-50 shareholder. So it's not like I'm doing it all on my own. My best friend Jed is with Paving Fields. He was a ground worker for 12 years with a firm around there. He worked his way up to top boy charge hand for them. And I said, if I put some dough in, do you want to start doing it yourself? And he was like, I have to think about it. It took him about 4 years, and then he finally took the leap of faith. And yes, it's paid off in every sense. And then with the gym stuff, it was more of a Sam Asplan-Robertson, who you'll know, was at Leicester with me. We became quite close. His old man's in hospitality and hotels and stuff, and we spoke about sort of setting up a gym. So it wasn't as if like I had these dreams of owning a gym or setting up a groundwork company. It was more so I was sort of juggling my eggs a bit better with rugby and life, finding a balance. The gym stuff was during COVID, so I had loads of time. The groundwork stuff has been more recent, but my friend knew everything there was to know, so it was a lot easier for me. But in terms of, it was more so a bit of as life is, a bit of a balancing act, a bit of a juggling act. So it was just finding time, and as soon as I found a bit more of that and was a bit more comfortable with the kids growing up a little bit more, although I've just had another, so we've reset now. That was just timing for me, I guess.
And when you look back and you think that these businesses you've got, and we'll talk about those, and this career you've built that's ongoing in professional rugby, do you look back and think, well, actually, of course, no one does it on their own, but do you look back and can you picture certain individuals without whose help you might not be here. That could be anybody.
Do you know what? I don't think there's anyone who's sort of handed me a rule book. Well, there isn't. There's no one who's handed me a rule book and said, this is what you got to do. Or, for example, my old man's ethos in life, he don't save a penny, right? He said, you could die tomorrow, you can't take it with you. He never saved any dough for us. I think my junior ISA when I was 18 had like 12 quid in it. Do you know what I mean?
No inheritance.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I can have the lawnmower, he said.
Good memories, but no cash.
Exactly. And it's a good laugh in it. But I was never sort of had anything waiting for me. So I had people sort of advising me, do this with your money, do that with your money, and I'd do something. It'd go belly up, and that'd be a learning curve for me. Didn't have anyone around me, bar my dad's dad. He done well from a business perspective. He had a printing company. I never had anyone sort of guiding me in that sense, but looking back on it, just taking a few pearls of wisdom from people now and then, and I like to think I'm reasonably well read and done my own research, which obviously has paid off. And I like having a crack at things. I'm quite ambitious in that sense. I'm not scared to lose a few quid in the same breath. So it's been a bit of a trial and error process, I guess.
And like quite early on in your career, like before you were an established England international, you looked like somebody who had the body language of a leader on the field, and that grew into captaining Leicester Tigers. That's grown into being a senior figure with the England rugby team, who are now doing great. And there's all that. I wonder, is it something that came naturally to you? So how is it that you mix with people from all these different backgrounds and all these different upbringings, and you're standing alongside someone who was head boy at a top private school and you're the leader?
Yeah, do you know what? I struggled with it in my early days when I was sort of 15, 16, and I actually grew a bit of resentment for some of the boys who had better opportunity than me, but then you get a bit older and you realise it's just the cards you're dealt. And then, exactly, it is luck of the draw, and I'm lucky compared to some other people, and they're lucky compared to me, so it's all relevant. But when you come into camp, you sort of firstly drop your ego, you leave it at the door, otherwise you'll get chewed up quite quickly. So that was a bit of a learning curve for me. But what I started to feel was that the reason I was feeling uncomfortable was because other people felt quite uncomfortable around me. I'm obviously very different. I spoke very differently back then. I still do, a bit more so now with a Southwest accent. But these people were almost feeling a bit awkward around me, probably because I wasn't letting my guard down. I was quite uptight, quite reserved, and I was probably making not a bad impression necessarily, but people couldn't relate to me. So it was about finding common ground. Coffee, that was a common denominator between us. So just
everybody meets at the
coffee machine. So it was about finding things that we could relate to. Golf, I never played golf before. I went into camp, boys playing golf. I'll have a knock. Don't want to play with me because I was losing a lot of balls. It was a good laugh. So I think, like, for me, it was probably maybe 1 in 10,000 rugby players had the same sort of experiences that I had. Most of them fit into this bracket and shared these, and all speaking about what schools they went to and playing each other growing up. No one played against John Cabot Academy growing up. Do you know what I mean? For me, it was about what can I find that I've got in common with these boys? Can I show them a different side to me? Let my guard down first, and then maybe the doors will open. And then I think as people got to know me a bit better, find out I didn't actually want to take their head off every 2 minutes, and I'm very different off the pitch to what I am on it. It started to flourish. And in terms of the leadership, natural born leader, and does it come naturally and that sort of stuff, I don't know. I think you grow into it, whether it's natural or not. Some people can blag it, as you know, all too well. You can fake it till you make it, but I think it probably gets sniffed out quite fast in rugby. So I've just tried to unapologetically sort of be myself. I think Eddie was quite good with that. Just said, mate, be yourself. I'm not going to pick you until you're yourself. And I am being myself.
Is that right? Eddie Jones said that?
You say that a lot. I'm not going to pick you. You're not being yourself. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then one day, I think I got left out of a team, and I thought, that's it. I'm being myself from this stage out. I'm not going to apologise for being the way I am. And then he started to pick me. So maybe he was right.
Maybe he was right. But there is a level of, like, it's all very well saying, I'll start being myself. But if you back up a bit, there is a level of self-awareness there, which is, you're in a room where you feel different from a lot of the other lads, and a lot of their shared experiences aren't yours. There's resentment, there's aggression. I think I'm allowed, known you long enough, I can say this. We would do the odd thing together and be in the same place. I always enjoyed your company, but I felt you would walk into rooms in your early days and you honestly looked like you walk into a room at an England dinner once. It was on Valentine's Day at Twickenham, and you walked in, and it wasn't to me.
Was that the rotating stage?
Yeah, and you walked in, it wasn't to me, and you honestly looked like you're going to take someone's head off. It was like you're walking out for a fight in a posh dinner with black tie on, and you walked straight up to me and say, "Don't let this drag on tonight, boy." You know, like, I was like, and we had a laugh about it. But you looked aggressive, right? And now you're a big, powerful man and all that stuff, and people know about the aggression. But that edge appears to have gone, and that like off the field, that social edge,
and questionably on it as well.
But it's not on it. But it's like that's a lot of self-awareness. A lot of people don't have that, Genge. Like to make those not adjustments, but to actually relax and back yourself.
Well, that's what I meant in terms of being myself. But as you just alluded to there, you can't let that influence other people in a bad way, and I feel that I probably was. And as you said, like the ambience of what I was bringing into a room was a negative one. So
people loved it, but at the same time
they did, but they found it funny, and like
Yeah.
they couldn't relate to it. So that's not a good thing. Other people come into camp and they wouldn't speak to me because they thought, well, not scared, but it just wasn't comfortable to be around. And I'm very comfortable in silence. Like I actually really enjoy it. So for me, when I was sat at a dinner table eating my grub and I wasn't speaking to people, I wasn't aware that I was making them feel quite uncomfortable. So although sometimes you've got to go out your way to speak to people, it sounds bad, that, doesn't it? Go out your way to speak to people just to make them feel comfortable. If you've got to do that now and then to get the dividends in the future, so be it, you know?
I think there's something in that, because people who are self-aware and who have a powerful presence, a lot of them, and if they're bright, they know that they're making people feel uncomfortable. And there are some people who recognise that and do what you've done and say, well, it's not cool. People being around me is not cool. But there are some people who relish it.
And go on the other side of it and actually make it feel really awkward. Well, if I don't like someone, I'll probably keep doing that. But yeah, 90% of the people
But you wouldn't do it to wield power to a group of your peers?
No, never. I'd never intentionally from off the bat make someone feel uncomfortable. But as I said, I think I do have that effect on people sometimes, and the silence doesn't help. And I'm a big believer in as well, like, going into a room, say hello to everyone if you cross paths and that, but I'm not necessarily one to be like, ask you questions about stuff that I know, firstly, is no use to me, no use to you telling me, and we're not going to get anything out of.
Small talk.
I struggle with small talk, which is a strength and a weakness, but I find that's probably where I was lacking, so I've had to improve my small talk.
Yeah, but there's also, like, the less small talk you deal in, the less fluff there is around.
I like cutting to the chase, you know, and like I'm like it in a business in the business side of things as well. I don't like if we start a meeting, how's your kids, how's your second cousin's auntie, and all that lark. It's not my thing. So I feel people respect that, and often I get people, whoa, straight to the punch, you know. But I think it saves time, and also they probably don't really care how my babbies are doing, do they?
No, probably not.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
at 8 o'clock in the morning, if someone asks you at breakfast.
I mean, when I ask, I really care. Yeah, everyone else doesn't.
We all do.
So when it comes to being part of these businesses, so you say you're not doing any of these businesses. We'll talk about individual businesses in a minute, but in terms of leadership in these businesses, are you saying that when you're 50-50 in these businesses with people who know more than you do about them, is it the case that you just send a check every now and again and leave them to it, or actually, you know, you've been around, haven't you? So you know about things, you know about life, you've had experiences. So actually, there's a lot you can lend there, isn't there?
Yeah, and to be honest, it's more so like sniffing people out in the sense of, for example, in the gyms, Sam's been away from rugby for a while now, and I feel like outside of this world, you're quite trusting. In the gym business anyway, Sam seems to trust everyone that comes through the door. Whereas the people we were employing at times or bringing in, I said, mate, they ain't gonna last 2 minutes, not a good fit, X, Y, Z for this reason. No, mate, they'll be good, they'll be fine. And he won't mind me saying this, and then lo and behold, 2 months later, they've done this, they're out the door. So I think I've probably got a good sense of judgment in that perspective when it comes to who can be involved in our brand, because ultimately that's what the businesses are, they're brands. Paving fields, not so much, you're digging holes, but with...
Someone's got to dig them.
Yeah, someone has, and there's a bit of dough in it.
Yeah.
In the Sing Collective with the gym stuff, we wanted it to be a brand, we wanted it to be edgy, we wanted it to be quite sexy. Definitely not me, but what Sam brings, that sort of London chic. He grew up in near Fulham. Do you know what I mean? I'm from the West, so it's not exactly the same. So we wanted to bring a bit of grit, that sweat and sawdust feel, but in the same sense have a bit of that chic sort of gym space to operate within in Leicester's facilities. And we got some great feedback on it. Is it making millions a year? No. Is it the brand that we wanted? Yeah. So it's a bit of judgment when it comes to that as well, is probably what I bring to the table. The checkbook, yeah, I obviously bring a bit of that at the beginning as well, but Sam put money in as well, but it was more so, I guess, the planning process that I was heavily involved in. What do we want the brand to look like? Where's the gap in the market? What doesn't Leicester have? What does it have? What can we offer? And as I said with the groundworks, it was pretty straight up and down. Let's get a tipper, get some spades, and
You got a van, have you?
we're at it. We've got 2 vans now.
Oh, mate.
I know, it's, mate, best drive you'll ever have. I know you like your defenders, but best drive you'll ever have. And you feel proper in charge as well.
Do you know,
in a 3-seater cabbie like
Yeah.
that, going down the motorway, not feeling
I
like
was with
it.
a mate yesterday. It's got me on the van bug. I was looking at vans last
It
night.
was probably the second best bit of advice that I got given when going into business as well. Never rock up to site in a brand new motor.
Yeah.
Because everyone will start to despise
Yeah.
you.
Paving fields, groundworks. So why groundwork? The thing is, people are always going to need holes digging in the floor. So
and
when I
no one
saw
wants
you'd
to
launched
dig
that business, I was like, well, it's obvious.
Yeah. To be honest, I think it's something that after rugby I can sink my teeth into, or the shovel. I think I'll be quite good at it in terms of being on site and just mucking in and grafting away. It's not necessarily take much nous. I mean, it's a difficult job. The hours are tough. My mate's doing days and nights at the moment. I doff my hat to him. He FaceTimes me in the morning at about 8 o'clock, and then he rings me again at about 11:30 at night, and he says,
Grafting.
"Where are you? Where are you?" I try to be awake for both calls because I feel I feel a bit bad otherwise, you know. But he knows the crack, and he's a relentless worker. He's from same neck of the woods as me, always ever known as the tools, and he's brilliant at it. But he didn't know how to set up a company. He didn't understand how to do directors' loans, pay dividends, what tax rate he was going to be, and all that sort of stuff. So I guess that's where I came in with that side of things. Organising, putting all the files in, company's house, all that. Like, obviously we got an accountant as well, but it was all alien to him. Obviously he's only ever worked for an employer who pay his wage. He was weekly, comes in, comes out. He never did cash. He was weekly in the account, tax all sorted. Whereas now he's on CIS. He has to pay this tax. He has to.
Yeah.
So it was a new world for him. But as I said, I'd like to think I'm quite well read. Done a bit of research, a bit of mapping out, and yeah, we've landed on our feet in a big way.
You've set up a fund, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I know a bit about it, but the people who are watching don't know about it. So that I find that an interesting one, because the other businesses you've set up as businesses to make money for you and your business partners. This is different.
Essentially, the reason I set up was I've spoke about my upbringing a lot. People have sort of delved into it a little bit, but I wanted firstly to speak about it a little bit more and let people understand it and what it really was about, and at the same time, how can I help the people who are in that situation now? How can I marry that up with what I'm doing? So it was, the idea was to basically essentially level the playing field for kids who have come from the same background as me, who didn't get given, not given, but presented with the same opportunities. For me, it was, whilst I'm playing, whilst I'm reasonably current, because you dry up quite quickly, don't you, when you stop playing?
Not me, mate, but
No.
yeah, everyone else.
Yeah, everyone else. Try and give back, I guess, and bridge the gap between what I seen when I was growing up as an unfair opportunity. Not unfair, but yeah, not equal opportunity. So, and do that through rugby and sport, and hopefully the community centres. I can't remember what podcast it was. I was listening to it saying that the fall in community centres and like youth clubs growing in now, there's like none,
mate.
and so many have shut round by me. And to be honest with you, when I was younger, there was a bit of a stigma around it. You wouldn't go to the youth club because it was like seen as a bit geeky to go there, or like you didn't want help. I think it's changed a bit now. I think people are more acceptant, especially with the state of the world now. So help out. So we helped a few of the BS14 club, I think it was called, which is one over near Stockwood. Put a bit of dough into that, and I don't know what they're going to do with it, but
Something useful.
It's a fund, not a charity, so that the fund basically raises the money and allocates it to different charities that are already doing great work. I thought there's so many charities out there that are doing brilliant things at the moment, especially in this area of Bristol, South Bristol, where I'm from. How can I sort of supplement that and help out? And also, it's very hard to deal with charities, so it's a bit less legwork for me, being totally honest.
People who start a fund or a foundation or a business, they tend to do it either right at the end of their career or just after it's ended, in a bit of a panic. So you're not at the end, you're not near the end yet, touch wood. You've got a lot of years left going. So how come you're doing it all so early?
Well, you said it very well, that like you do lean on it, I guess, and it does help your brand, if you're being honest, being a bit different. So how can I sort of use that to a better purpose? And for me, that was playing well, firstly. It makes a big difference. And being a role model for some of these kids who don't have anyone to look up to and no one to relate to. I've spoke many a time about growing up. I never watched rugby. Didn't really know any of the England players. Obviously knew Johnny Wilkinson because he had the drop goal, but that was the only reason why. Never seen him play. And give someone a role model from from my area who can look up and be like, I'd like to do what Ellis has done.
If you had to pick someone in business terms who's helped you the most, you do have to pick someone, that's the game. Right?
Yeah.
If you've got to pick someone who's helped you the most, would it be Mr. Google, or would it actually, is there someone you can think of that's...
You know what, I probably can. Paul Dibble, my dad's best mate, he won't like hearing this, but he's done very well for himself.
Still drives a transit.
He does drive a transit.
Yeah.
He's just been on those cruises in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
He does all right, but he's the most grounded bloke you'll ever meet, genuinely, straight up and down. Only drinks London Pride and Guinness. But he's a creature of habit, and he's from an era where hard work's respected, and he's from the same sort of upbringing as I am, and he's educated himself very well, and he's doing good for himself, and on top of it, he's a great bloke. So yeah, he's helped me a lot.
And there's something about, like in a sports environment, it's the same in business, isn't it? Where you can't be everyone's best mate all the time. Like there are, when you're playing, I wouldn't describe you as friendly, but you can't be everyone's best mate. But actually, day to day, you do have to be easy to be around. You have to verging on pleasurable to be around, because you're going through intense stuff, aren't you, together? Like, you've got to be a good person.
I think relationships are key, and I think there's you know the crack yourself. You've got to sort of toe the line between, especially in business, between like friends and colleagues, and you can still be a friendly colleague.
Yeah.
I think Sam with the gym stuff probably struggle with that sometimes, because he's there every day. You build good relationships with people, and then one day you got to let someone go. So it's difficult, but I think it's just being a bit aware of your surroundings and who you're letting in.
And if you had to speak to someone a couple of years younger than you, who's now got a couple of quid and they've got some ideas, and you had to give them advice on being an entrepreneur, like, it would sound to me like it's make sure you're with the best people, don't be afraid of a bit of graft, but also something you said I thought was interesting was, you take a punt, and it doesn't always work out, but you take a punt. So if you're giving advice to a young person in a position you were in 5 years ago, what would you give them?
Well, as you said about the
Have I just answered the question?
It's sort of.
Yeah, it's a skill. It's a skill. Yeah.
If the more you read about people entrepreneurs who have done so well, you find out how many times they've failed.
Yeah.
It sounds quite cringy and cheesy, but they've had in the tens and maybe even hundreds of companies that have gone bust or not worked, and ideas that they thought were great, and turns out it wasn't. So there is a bit of trial and error.
Yeah.
Gyms might not be for you. Groundworks, I can imagine, certainly ain't for them. But you never know. Did I think I'd be sat here with 2 leading into 3 coming up in the summer businesses? No. Certainly didn't think I'd be a rugby player, but miracles happen. So I think if you're willing to put in the graft and the hard work and surround yourself with like-minded and level-headed people, you can't go too far wrong. And if all else fails, put it on red.
That's it. That's it. This has been Team Behind the Shirt with Funding Circle and Ellis Genge. Genji, thanks, mate. Enjoy
Thank you very much, Flats. Thanks for having me, guys.